I'm Stephanie Stevens, and I'm here because I would like to explain to people how someone like me can wind up on Medicaid. For 6 years, I had known that something was very wrong with my dad, but I had no idea what. And it wasn't until 1999, when I was 29, that he got diagnosed with Huntington's. And at that point, I found out that it was hereditary and that I had a 50-50 chance of inheriting it, because every child of a person with Huntington's has a 50-50 chance. So there's a test where you can find out if you have the mutation. And everyone has the Huntington's gene. We all have it. What they look for on your DNA is the mutation, and I had it. And at that point, I knew not to have a child because I knew that there was juvenile Huntington's. So already at 29, I'm making this massive decision about my life that was not something I had planned before I wanted a child. We all live in such a perfectly little diluted bubble that nothing will ever happen to us, and that nothing like this could ever happen, because somehow this is my fault, and it cannot just be a series of unforeseeable, horrific tragedies and also unforeseeable, horrific illness that could bring someone this low. I never could have, I never saw it coming, never. Life very quickly went from what I thought it was going to be to something very different. And it had just gotten more and more different as time has gone on. So for years, I was one of the primary caretakers. There was 2 of us, but it's exhausting to help take care of someone with Huntington's, and it's too detailed to go into right now, but what I will say is that what you wind up with, and especially because my father was a brilliant doctor who had specialized in aerospace medicine. He was, freakishly intelligent. We had a hyper intelligent 6-foot, 200-pound toddler. And if you can imagine what that's like, with no break ever. So someone had to be there all the time. And I worked just as much as I could, so I could be there as often as I could, and I was there as often as I possibly could be. And because of that, I barely made any money. I was barely surviving, and I wasn't able to pay into the normal disability system, which is what people usually do when they wind up getting disabled themselves. But I didn't. I wasn't able to. So after my father died and my uncle died, and it was a series of just, this is what happens in these families. It's just, this disease destroys families. It doesn't just destroy this person and that person. It destroys the entire family. So, excuse me. Okay. I wound up getting in a car wreck, a very, very serious car wreck that I should not have walked away from. And during that year, when I was recovering, I wasn't able to work or do anything, and my anything I had was depleted, which was very little. And then my mother's savings was depleted because after a year, I started getting symptomatic. And that's when I was finally diagnosed. And I wasn't able to function. I couldn't get out of bed. I was chronically, unbelievably exhausted. It was horrible because I'd always been so fiercely independent and so fiercely self-sufficient that it was a difficult process. And you have to get actually diagnosed by a neurologist, which I was. And then it took 2 years where I was not functioning because I didn't have the right medication, or I was given the wrong medication because there's such a dearth of information or understanding in the medical field about Huntington's disease because it's a deeply, deeply complicated illness. I'm so vulnerable, mentally and physically vulnerable to mistakes, doctor mistakes. And medication is so precise and it has to be completely accurate or it will throw me totally off balance and I will be insane. I mean, acting crazy. I became somebody that I absolutely am not.
Or can you tell me again why it's hard or impossible for you right now to be employed? Why is it?
Okay. Well, one of the easy things I like to tell people is that as we're sitting here talking, my brain is having to work twice as hard as yours just to talk. So everything, I expend twice as much energy. I get tired very easily. And if I have 2 days that are even, somewhat active, let's say I've got a couple of doctor's appointments, someone comes over and visits me, and if I do something like this tomorrow, I'm not getting out of bed. My brain is just like, I have to rest afterwards. And if I don't listen to it, I'll start falling. That's when my movements get weird. My movements, you can't really see them. But if I'm tired or really stressed out, then you start seeing them. And then I'm doing these weird things. And that is not necessarily dangerous in itself, but it's the loss of coordination that can be dangerous.
What would you say right now to someone who thinks a phone call to their senator or their congressman won't matter? Like, why bother? Or I don't know anyone who's on Medicaid, or I'm never going to be on Medicaid. It's not gonna affect me.
I tell them that the world has a funny way of changing their reality. And they do know somebody now who's on Medicaid. They know me. And I'm not the only one. There are other people like me. And if I don't have Medicaid, I won't be able to pay for my medication. I will not be, and even though I am not a contributing member financially to society, I contribute. As a human being, I contribute. And I won't be able to, because I won't be here. And if that isn't enough, I think that we all, me included, we all need to know how this will work for us. Well, you don't know that you might not be me one day, not with Huntington's, but with something else. And then you're the one asking people to make that call.